I am done with full squats. Might sound crazy, but I think you should be too. We're now in December and competition is firing up. And you really got to take inventory of what's important to you at this time of the year. I want to tell you why I'm done with full squats for the remainder of this season and why partial range squats are where you should live. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into this thing. You know we got some good information to get into. A full squat has its benefits, and especially for someone that works with the population of kids that I work with, high school kids, a lot of them struggle with coordination and just general strength when it comes to resistance training. But I have the responsibility of being a weight room coach and a track coach. So I need to know when one hat is necessary and when the other hat isn't, and vice versa. We've been training in some form or fashion, pre-season, off-season, pre-season, whatever. We've been training for this indoor season for about 3 to 4 months now. And we've done plenty of full range motions and movements, and we have prepared the body, the tendons, to do what it's supposed to do at this stage. Now it's about prioritizing the speed of the move, which is where the hat analogy comes in, because the strength coach says ass to grass, full range of motion, strength, whatever the case is for whatever the block of training is. But the track coach says, what's going to get you to the line fastest? And where do you need to be? All the strength work that's going to help you improve your speed needs to be relatable. And a full squat typically is not moving fast enough for you to make it relatable, especially when it comes to upright running. Now let's look at the range of motion as we start the race to when we finish the race. And I'm speaking strictly from a sprint standpoint, even though we could really relate this to anything. You'll see that the largest ranges of motion you'll find are in the start, when you're trying to generate your momentum, you're trying to build your speed and your power. I agree. But it's only for a few steps here that the hip and the knee see as pronounced bend as you would see in a full squat. In fact, I would even argue from the very beginning, you'll see even one of your legs in the blocks doesn't have full range of motion, hence that back foot. So at some point from the very beginning of the race, before the race has even started, we need to be thinking about speed. Minimal knee bend is going to come with a shorter ground contact. We know this. So here come the partial range squats. Half squats and quarter squats have been really beneficial for us as a team. One of our fastest years, a couple years ago, when we had our fast guys that ran, most of them in the 6'7", 6'6" range, we did a lot of partial range squats with them. And they went to a box and it was, 400 plus pounds or whatever the case was on the bar, and moving that weight quickly. These are concepts that are very relatable to the Cubans, how they move. And I was a triple jumper when I was in high school and college, and a lot of the people I researched, Teddy Tamgo, who was coached by Ivan Pedroso, these athletes come from a system where they just do what's necessary. I haven't seen a full range squat like with some strength and speed out of a high jumper, out of a triple jumper. It's all partial range, and these athletes live in very tight, short ground contact phases. They're trying to minimize the knee bending, trying to get on and off the ground as quickly as possible. Sprinting is the same thing. And as a former jumper, I try to bring this approach to the sprints, and it worked really well for us. I didn't feel like we lost any power. In fact, the fact we built a great base allowed us to now expand to doing these partial range squats. So I want to leave you guys with this. how are you going to use this information and improve your weight room setup? I know it's difficult to extract what you know to be true, which is full range, full squats, so on and so forth. But there's a reason a lot of the fast track athletes are not good squatters by technique. They're not the best technically sound squatters. And I've seen some of the test videos from some of the colleges, and I'm a bit shocked, honestly, that they post it, because you know how the internet can be when it comes to posting anything that's not the most technically perfect squat possible. In our squats being the reason people don't run fast, then you might see change. Otherwise, I think we need to accept the reality that there's a time and a place for everything. Early season, sure, if you want to introduce more hip and knee bend and get to full range or even below parallel, whatever the case is, then sure. But at the same time, you have to realize at some point in your program, things need to shift to being general to specific. And that's where you get your partial ranges in the weight room. So I would encourage you guys, if you're not too familiar with quarter squats and half squats, take a look at some of these clips, get to the gym and just give it a go. See how you feel for a couple weeks. You might see a lot more improvements there, just because the bar is able to move faster and you're able to bear more weight. You're trying to teach the tendon how to absorb force, and you can absorb more force with a shorter range of motion. Me squatting, I don't know, if I'm squatting 450 for full range for 1 rep, and I'm able to squat 450 for a couple sets of 8 to 10, which one would make me the more resilient athlete, the one that is able to absorb force more? I would argue it's the latter, even though the range of motion isn't as pronounced. In max velocity, you'll see the athlete has a little bit of amortization where that knee and the hip bend because of the ground contact. Cool. But do you see the hip dropping all the way down? Like, what's the benefit of a full squat when it comes to upright running? There is none. So why not tailor our weight room training to that? Cleans, full power cleans, trap bar deadlifts, back squats. Those are where you see the most knee bend, hip bend, even leg press if you really want to throw it in there. But the exercise selection that relates to the very beginning portion of a race is wide, but we're very shy to relate the rest of the weight room session or exercise selection to the latter part of the race. If you want the athlete to be tall and bouncy in the run, make sure you program something that makes them tall and bouncy in the weight room. And that would be some high rep quarter squats. In conclusion, guys, think about what the objective of your training is. If you want to get strong, that's all good. But make sure you realize you're going to sacrifice the speed element when you need it most. Our training program takes weeks and months to adapt to. And ultimately, we want to be the best we can be throughout the race. If you've given it a couple months of full reps, you tested your max multiple times, you see the growth, I think you've seen enough from your full squats. Now let's shorten the range of motion and let's get some speed and resiliency behind these tendons and keep building that strength in a different way. Make sure you let me know in the comments, is this something you do already? Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. I appreciate you all. And until the next one, peace.